Nneka was a lonely child who grew up without a mother figure in her life. Her mother died while giving birth to her, so Nneka never got the chance to see her face or feel her love. She was raised by her father, Emeka, a billionaire who loved and cherished her so much. When Nneka was a little girl, her father spent a lot of time with her. He played with her, told her stories, and gave her everything she wanted. Nneka was his world, and she felt happy and loved. But everything changed when Nneka turned 12. Her father became very busy with his business and no longer had time for her. He traveled often and was always surrounded by work. Nneka was left alone most of the time, with no one to talk to and no one to play with. She had no brothers or sisters, and even though the house was full of workers, none of them could feel the emptiness she felt inside. Every evening, she sat by her window watching other children play with their mothers in the estate where they lived, wishing she had someone who cared for her that way. Sometimes, she looked at her mother's picture and whispered, "I wish you were here, Mama." Tears would roll down her cheeks as she hugged her teddy bear tightly, hoping it could give her the comfort she longed for. Even though her father loved her deeply, his absence made Nneka feel lonely and forgotten. She had all the riches in the world, but deep inside she was just a little girl searching for love and someone to be by her side. As Nneka grew older, she became more lonely. She wanted someone to talk to and someone to play with. One day, she went to her father and said, "Daddy, please marry again so that I can have a brother or a sister to play with." Her father would look at her lovingly and said, "Don't worry, my daughter. I will marry soon. You will have someone to keep you company." His words made Nneka happy, and she waited patiently for that day to come. After some months, her father came home one evening with a beautiful woman. He called Nneka and said, "My dear daughter, meet your new mother-to-be, Stella. She will take good care of you whenever I am not around." At first, Stella was very nice to Nneka. She smiled at her, bought her gifts, and spoke kindly to her whenever Chief Emeka was at home. Nneka was happy and believed she finally had a mother who would love her. But everything changed when Chief Emeka traveled again for his business. Stella began to show her true self. She stopped being kind and started treating Nneka badly. She made Nneka do all the house chores and treated her like a house help. Whenever Nneka made a small mistake, Stella would shout at her and call her names. "You killed your mother," she would say angrily. "You are a bad child." Nneka would run to her room and cry silently. No one was there to comfort her. She missed her father, but she didn't want to tell him what was happening because she was afraid he would not believe her. Every night, she cried herself to sleep, wishing her real mother was alive. The big house that once felt warm and happy now felt cold and empty. Nneka was all alone, with no one by her side. One morning, Nneka was cleaning the living room when she suddenly heard the sound of her father's car. She was very surprised because he was not supposed to come back from his trip that day. Her heart started beating fast as she rushed to the door. Chief Emeka walked in with a serious look on his face. Stella quickly came out and tried to smile. "My love, welcome back," she said, moving close to him. But Emeka looked at her angrily and shouted, "Pack your things and leave my house right now." Stella was shocked. "My love, what have I done?" she asked, looking confused. Emeka pointed at her and said, "Don't pretend. I know everything you have been doing to my daughter since I traveled. I know how you have been treating her like a house help and calling her names. I warned you never to hurt my daughter." Nneka stood there in surprise, wondering how her father knew everything. Could it be the gate man told him? She asked herself. But no, he just drove in now. Stella fell on her knees and started begging. Please, my love, forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt her, she said in tears. But Chief Emeka refused to listen. I don't joke with my daughter, he said firmly. I will never exchange her for anything in this world. You have shown me who you truly are, and I don't want a woman like you in my house. Stella cried bitterly, but Emeka did not change his mind. She slowly stood up, picked up her bags, and walked out of the house with tears in her eyes. After Stella left, the house became calm again. Nneka was happy that her father sent her away. But after some time, she began to feel lonely again. Her father became very busy with his business. He traveled from one place to another and hardly had time to stay at home with her. In school, Nneka always felt left out. During break time, she would sit quietly and listen to her classmates as they share stories about their families. My mommy took me to the market yesterday, one girl would say with a smile. My brother and I played football in the compound. Another would add happily. Nneka would just sit and listen, pretending to smile. But deep inside her heart, she felt pain. She had nothing to say because she didn't have a mother or a sister to play with. Her father was always busy with his work, and she was always alone. Sometimes she wished she could join their conversation, but she didn't know what to say. When her classmates laughed and played together, Nneka only watched them quietly, fighting back tears. When school closed, she walked home slowly, thinking about how her life would have been if her mother was still alive. When she got home, the big house looked empty and quiet as usual. Her father was not around. He had traveled again for business. That night, Nneka sat by her window looking at the stars. Why can't I have a mother like other children? She whispered sadly. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she hugged her pillow tightly, wishing she had someone to love her and keep her company. After some time, Nneka began to feel lonely again. She missed having someone to talk to and play with. One evening, as she sat beside her father, she said softly, Daddy, please try another woman. I believe all women are not the same. Emeka looked at his daughter and sighed deeply. He loved Nneka and wanted her to be happy. So after thinking about it for some time, he decided to give marriage another try. A few months later, he brought home another woman. She looked kind and gentle at first sight. Nneka, meet your new mother-to-be, Emeka said with a smile. She'll be staying with us. Nneka smiled shyly and greeted her politely. The woman also smiled back, and for a moment, Nneka felt hopeful again. Soon after, Emeka traveled as usual for his business. At first, Nneka was scared that things might turn out like before. But this new woman did not maltreat her. She didn't shout or make her do hard choice. Instead, she kept to herself and stayed quiet most of the time. However, she also didn't show any sign of care or love. She acted as if Nneka didn't exist. Even when Nneka tried to talk to her or play with her, she would only nod her head without saying a word. Sometimes, when Nneka tried to get closer, the woman would look at her coldly and say, I am not your mother, please maintain your boundaries. Those words pierced Nneka's heart like a knife. She would quietly walk away and hide in her room, feeling unwanted once again. Though the woman didn't hurt her, she made her feel invisible, like she was just a stranger in her own home. At night, Nneka lay in bed thinking about her mother, wishing she was alive to love her the way she always dreamed of. Days passed, and Nneka began to feel lonely and alone while staying with the new woman. She never maltreated her, but she didn't show any love or care either. She kept her distance and didn't talk to Nneka. Nneka felt the emptiness in the house more than ever. She missed having someone to love her and be close to her. The silence of the house made her heart ache, and she often wondered why life was so lonely for her. One day, Chief Emeka returned home immediately from the trip. He called the woman and said firmly, "I see you can never love anyone who is not your child. I need a woman who will love my daughter like her own." The woman was shocked and asked, "How did you find out? How do you know what is going on?" Emeka looked at her seriously and said, "I will be happy if you pick your things and leave my house. You do not deserve my precious daughter." The woman begged him tearfully, but he refused to forgive her. She packed her things and walked out of the house, crying bitterly. Nneka stood there in shock, watching the whole scene. She asked herself again, who could be telling my father everything that happens in the house immediately he returns? The house felt quiet again, but Nneka's heart was still heavy with questions. After the woman left, Nneka went to her father, her heart full of curiosity and confusion. She asked softly, "Daddy, who is feeding you with everything happening here immediately you return?" Her father smiled gently at her and said, "My dear, you are still a child. I placed a CCTV camera in this house and watch everything going on here through my phone. It's because of this that I never had interest in marrying another woman. It is very hard for another man or woman to take care of a child who is not his or her own. But you have been complaining, so I decided to give in, just for you to see things for yourself." Nneka was shocked. She didn't know what to say. Her mind was spinning with surprise and disbelief. She stood up quietly, walked into her room, and closed the door behind her. She sat on her bed and started crying silently, tears rolling down her cheeks. She hugged her pillow tightly, wishing more than anything that she could bring her dead mother back and have the love she had always longed for. The house was quiet, but Nneka's heart ached with loneliness and longing for the mother she never knew. After a few minutes, Nneka wiped her tears and began to think, "Maybe I should tell my father to give another woman a chance," she said to herself. The thought stayed in her mind for a while, and finally she stood up and went to her father's room. "Daddy," she said softly, "I've been thinking, maybe you should try to marry another woman." Her father's face changed immediately. He looked at her with anger in his eyes. "What did you just say, Nneka?" he shouted. "Don't you ever say something like that again. Your mother is gone and no one will ever be like her." Nneka felt her heart sink. Tears filled her eyes again as she quietly said, "I am sorry." She turned as slowly as she returned back to her room, crying as she lay down on her bed. After a few seconds, Emeka began to feel bad about how he shouted at his daughter. He stood up and quietly walked to Nneka's room. When he opened the door, he saw her lie on the bed crying softly. He went close to her and sat by her side. "Nneka, my daughter," he said gently, "I am sorry for shouting at you. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's just that there is no way I can bring another woman into this house who will be exactly like your mother. No one can ever be like her." Nneka wiped her tears and sat up slowly. She looked at her father and said boldly, "Daddy, I understand, but I also have my own plans. I will do anything possible to have a mother figure in my life, and maybe even have a younger one to play with." Emeka looked at her in surprise, unsure of what she meant. He could see the strong determination in her eyes, and it made his heart heavy. The next morning, Emeka was sitting in the sitting room reading a newspaper. The house was quiet until he suddenly heard the sound of a door opening. He looked up and was shocked by what he saw. Nneka came out of her bedroom looking dirty and rough, almost like a mad woman. Her hair was scattered and her clothes were dusty and torn. Emeka quickly stood up. "Nneka," he shouted in surprise, "why are you dressed like this? What happened to you?" But instead of answering with fear or shame, Nneka smiled calmly. "Daddy," she said, "don't worry. I am just trying to get you a wife and a mother for myself. Please be patient with me. I have my own plans." Before Emeka could say another word, Nneka turned around and walked straight out of the house. Emeka stood there speechless, staring at her, not knowing what she was planning or where she was going. Nneka walked for a long time until she got to a busy road. She sat by the corner looking dirty, hungry and tired. She stretched out her hand and began to beg any young lady that passed by for food or money. "Please, sister, help me with something to eat," she said softly to one lady. But the lady just looked at her and walked away. Another one told her, "Go and hawk sachet water like your fellow kids instead of sitting here begging." One after another, the young ladies passed by, some pretending not to see her, others giving her harsh words. Nneka's stomach rumbled, but she didn't give up. She kept begging and waiting, hoping that someone would show her kindness. But throughout that whole day, no one gave her money or even a little food to eat. As the sun began to set, she stood up slowly, weak and disappointed. With tears in her eyes, she turned around and started walking home. The next day, Nneka didn't give up. Early in the morning, she went back to the same corner of the road and sat down again. She still looked dirty and tired, but she was determined to keep trying. Just like the day before, she began to beg any young lady who passed by, "Please, sister, help me with food or money," she said to everyone who looked her way. Most of them ignored her, but she didn't stop. After some minutes, one young lady suddenly stopped and looked closely at her. "My dear, what are you doing here looking like this?" the lady asked kindly. Nneka looked up sadly and said, "My mother is late, and my father sent me out of the house. I don't have anywhere to go or anything to eat." The lady felt pity for her and sighed deeply. "Oh, you poor girl," she said softly. Then she opened her purse, brought out some money and handed it to Nneka. "Take this and find something to eat. I will check on you later," she said gently before walking away. Nneka looked at the money in her hand and whispered, "Thank you, ma." A few hours later, the young lady returned to the spot where Nneka was sitting. She was carrying a small plate of food. She smiled and said gently, "Take this, my dear. Eat something. You must be very hungry." Nneka's eyes brightened. She quickly collected the food with both hands and said, "Thank you so much, ma. God bless you." The young lady smiled and replied, "It's okay, my dear. Take care of yourself." And then she walked away. Nneka looked at the food for a moment, then began to eat happily. As she ate, she smiled to herself and said softly, "I know good women still exist in this world. I must find myself a woman and a wife for my father." A few minutes later, the young lady came back again, still wearing a kind smile on her face. She looked at Nneka and said softly, "My dear, what is your name?" Nneka looked up and replied, "My name is Nneka." The lady smiled. "That is a beautiful name," she said. "My name is Nkechi." She paused for a moment and then asked, "Would you like to be my friend?" Nneka smiled shyly and nodded. "Yes, ma, I would like that." Nkechi looked at her with pity and said, "Since you said your father sent you out, would you like to follow me to my house? You can stay with me for now." But Nneka shook her head quickly. "No, ma," she said. "I don't know you too well." Nkechi nodded slowly. "All right then," she said kindly. "Maybe I can follow you to your house and beg your father to take you back. Or do you want to sleep here on the road?" At those words, Nneka's face changed. She frowned and stood up angrily. Without saying a word, she started walking away. "Nneka, come back," Nkechi called her. But Nneka didn't stop. She kept walking until Nkechi could no longer see her again. Nneka finally returned home that evening. Her father, Emeka, was sitting in the sitting room when he saw her walked in. still dressed like a mad girl. Her hair was scattered and her clothes were dirty, and her face was dusty. Emeka looked at her in surprise and asked, Nneka, where are you coming from again? And why do you still look like this? But Nneka only smiled and said, it's all to get a wife and a mother for myself. Then she laughed a little and ran straight to her room before her father could say another word. The next day, Nneka went back to her usual corner by the roadside. She sat quietly waiting until after some time Nkechi appeared again. She was holding a plate of food. When she got close, Nkechi smiled kindly and said, Nneka, please forgive me if I said something that upset you yesterday. Nkechi didn't say a word. She only smiled softly at her. Nkechi then opened her bag and brought out some folded clothes. These are some of my used clothes, she said gently. You can have them, my dear. Nneka's eyes light up with joy. Thank you very much, ma, she said happily as she collected the clothes from Nkechi. Nkechi smiled warmly. You are welcome, Nneka, she said. From time to time, Nkechi kept visiting Nneka by the roadside. Each time she came, she brought something for her, sometimes food, sometimes clothes, and sometimes just kind words to make her smile. Whenever Nkechi arrived, she would sit beside Nneka, talk with her, and encourage her to be strong. Don't worry, my dear, she would say softly. Everything will be fine one day. Nneka began to look forward to Nkechi's visit. She loved her presence because it made her feel wanted and cherished. Whenever Nkechi was around, Nneka forgot her worries and felt happy, as if she had found the mother she always wished for. One day, Nneka begged Nkechi to follow her to her father's house. She told her she wanted to make peace with him and needed someone by her side. After thinking for a while, Nkechi agreed. That evening, they both set out to Nneka's father's house. When they arrived, Nkechi was completely shocked. In front of her stood a big beautiful mansion with shiny lights and tall gates. She turned quickly to Nneka, eyes wide open, and asked, You mean this is your father's house? And you are on the street begging? Nneka gave a small smile and said, It's a long story. Then she took Nkechi gently by the hand and walked straight into the house. When they got inside the house, Nneka went straight to her room. After a few minutes, she came out well dressed and looking very beautiful. She was holding the hand of a man. Nkechi was even more confused now. She didn't understand what was going on. Nneka came closer to her and said softly, I am sorry for everything. I am sorry for disguising myself. I was never a beggar. I don't have a problem with my father. But it's true my mother is late. Ever since she died, we have been looking for the right woman for my father. Someone who can also be a mother to me. She paused, looking into Nkechi's eyes. But we were disappointed many times. So I decided to do this. To go out and find someone different. Then I found you. You have all the qualities I wanted in a mother. You are caring, supportive, and understanding. I believe you will make a good wife to my father. Nneka smiled and pointed at the man standing in front of them. This is my father, she said softly. Please marry him. He is a good man and will be a better husband to you. Please don't say no. After saying that, Nneka quietly stood up and left the both of them alone. Emeka walked closer to Nkechi, looked into her eyes and said, Please be my wife. For a moment, Nkechi was speechless. Then with tears of joy in her eyes, she smiled and hugged him tightly. Yes, she whispered, I will. At that moment, Nneka walked back, smiling happily. She ran to them and hugged them both warmly. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share.